Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new malicious compliance stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled Disingenuous. I worked for a franchise cleaning company a few years ago. I had been there as a route manager for a little over 2 years when this happened. I built quite a customer base, people who requested only me and my one other team member to clean their homes, and to this day, the top 5-star reviews on Google for this company have my name in them. I prided myself on being one of the absolute best. It was back-breaking work. We cleaned ceiling to floor. We worked 10 to 12-hour days, but only got paid for maybe half that time. Since we didn't get paid for drive time, we were supposed to work in one county, but she sent us across 3, so drive time was plentiful. We may have 3 or 4 cleans, in 10 to 12 hours. The rest was spent in the car. We earned a percentage of the total cost of each clean, before they added sales tax, and we earned a weekly bonus, and added 2%. If we hadn't called off sick, we hadn't broken anything, and there were no cancellations or complaints on your route. Now, a customer could have passed away, moved, etc. If they cancelled service for any reason, we were berated, and lost our bonus. I'm sorry Mr. Smith died, boss, therefore no longer needing us. I'll try to do better next time. Our bosses, the franchise owners, were a husband and wife team, who should have divorced a long time ago. He was abusive, and enjoyed screaming at us during our morning meetings, and on one occasion, had gotten so angry, that he picked up a $900 vacuum, and threw it at a wall, smashing it into pieces. She pretended she was a meek, God-fearing woman, but she enjoyed doing things like making up fake customer complaints, or saying a customer called, and said we broke something, so she could yank our bonus for the week, and pocket more profit. She forgot I had a great relationship with all of my customers, so when she started pulling that with me, I approached my customers at their next scheduled clean, to profusely apologize, and try to make it right. My customers looked at me, dumbfounded, and said things like, "Huh? What are you talking about? I never called to complain. When your boss called us, we told her everything was beautiful, as always. So boss was stealing from me." I finally had enough when I came down with strep throat. I worked sick Monday and Tuesday, but by Wednesday, I couldn't speak. Called off Wednesday and Thursday, the first days I'd missed in over a year, but was back on Friday, better, thanks to amoxicillin. That morning, tucked in each envelope, with the entire staff's paper checks didn't offer direct deposit, was a note from Tyrant Man Boss that read, "I am too stupid to know when your excuse to call off work is disingenuous." Essentially calling me a liar, to the whole staff. I was the only call off that pay period. I fumed all day at each clean, deciding what my next move would be. I fumed all weekend. Monday morning, an hour before their arrival, I called and left a message on the answering machine saying something along the lines of, "Since you're too stupid to know much, I quit. Do not call me. Mail me my last check." I also rattled off customers' names who told me about the fake complaints, and how I knew they were stealing from me. I warned them that they would lose customers, since I quit, and once my 6-month non-compete expired, they would lose more. And since they were too stupid to realize we weren't stupid, I made things crystal clear. All in all, they lost around 12 customers after I quit, including the ones I poached, and clean independently now. Hope that arrogance, and extra 2% was worth it. Next one is titled, "Why Haven't I Done This Before?" I work as a secretary, accountant, front desk in a construction company. I am 6 months pregnant and I don't want to be very whining, but being pregnant is generally difficult. Anyway, because we are a construction company, people who come and go to our office often have dusty shoes and they leave their footprints on the carpet. We have a very dark themed office and our carpets are dark blue. I've told my boss several times that we need to change these carpets, or we shouldn't use them at all, because everywhere is covered with dust so quick. But my boss wants the office to be as clean as a house. At first, when he said, "Clean up here," I would say, "Sure," and clean it. Then he started obsessing over this carpet thing. I have told several times that there are a lot of people going in and out, it is difficult to clean the floors every ducking time. And because I am pregnant, I get tired very quickly. Several times when I went to the bank or somewhere for work, he asked why the office was so dirty in my absence. Or he asked why the doormat was so dusty when there's a literal windstorm outside. Last week he basically yelled at me and said, "Don't be so lazy, when someone comes in and out, you will sweep the floor immediately." Cue malicious compliance. Last week I ran the vacuum cleaner behind every single person coming in and out. Even if there was someone waiting for me to do their job, I said I would make them wait a bit and clean the floor because my boss told me so. My boss didn't speak up for the first few days, but then the people waiting for me started complaining. Do you have to vacuum around in the middle of your job? This is a workplace, of course the place will get dirty. Wow, that's a loud vacuum. You are pregnant, is it okay for you to do this? Just stop it, I have places to be. Doing all of this made my back pain disastrous, but I endured. Yesterday my boss finally couldn't stand the noise and exploded. Do you have to vacuum the floor 45 times a day? No sir, I don't have to, but you told me to do this. He knew very well what he did and said, and that's why he was angry at me. He left angry yesterday and today hasn't even arrived. Should I keep doing what he said? Edit, I live in Turkey. The unemployment rate is very high and we have no rights other than the minimum wage and some basic health insurance. We have a squad of 4 people except my boss. The manager is the boss's wife. Our civil engineer, his son. Our driver is an old uncle and there's me. Trust me, there is no place to complain. You're just grateful for your minimum wage. I tried so hard to get paid maternity leave. We don't have many mentions in international news, but as a country, we are in a very difficult situation. Many fathers commit suicide because they can't find a job to support their families. Besides, most men who are depressed kill their wives. Women's deaths have increased more than ever. Unfortunately, it's pretty bad and I'm just glad that I have this shitty job. So I'm doing what they want me to do. I'm an university graduate accountant, but unfortunately you gotta do what you gotta do. Thank you for all of the concerns and advices. Next one is titled, Work a Double and Get Written Up or. In high school a few friends and myself worked at a local chain restaurant. We were fully able to run the day shift but had never really broken down the equipment and closed up for the evening. One particular night, a few of the night shift had called in sick. We were asked to pull a double and close the restaurant, which we did. Essentially worked from 10 a.m. until after midnight, myself and my 3 friends and a manager, and we were really tired but felt that we had done the right thing and helped out the company. The next day the 4 of us come into work another day shift. The day manager pulls us into her office, one by one, and informs us that she would need to write us up because we hadn't properly cleaned and filtered the fry grease. Regardless of our leaning in for a double, having never closed or been trained on closing procedures, and having been given permission by the night manager to leave, meaning all closing work had been completed. After a quick chat with my friends, it was aligned that I was going to push back on the write-up, and if the day manager insisted on writing up us, we would quit. I informed the manager that we were collectively not going to sign the write-up slips. Her alternative threat was that we would be fired, to which I informed her that if she insisted on writing us up for helping out, pulling a double, not being trained, and having been released by the night manager, then we would quit, collectively and immediately. She responded with, "If you don't sign the write-up, then you will be fired." A staring contest follows. I eventually break in with an, "Okay. I guess we are fired then." We turned in our hats, quit symbolically and left. It was really amazing. My friend quit mid-burger prep, my other friend simply walked off the cash register in the middle of taking an order. We clocked out and walked out the back, leaving only the day manager in the restaurant, customers in line, customers at the drive-thru. Later that same day, we decided return to our place of prior employment, to have dinner. The night shift must have still been sick as the entire restaurant was staffed with managers from nearby restaurants, same chain, including our day manager, who was now pulling her own double, and the night manager that had released us the prior evening. There was nothing better than eating our burgers and watching the management staff fail at every station and knowing that their pride, lack of rational flexibility, and threats had resulted in one of the most righteous meals we ever ate together. Needless to say, we were all employed at the next chain restaurant down the street in a matter of days. It's been nearly 30 years and I remember that standoff, her ultimatum, and our walkout like it was last week. Next one is titled, If You Don't Like It You Can Clock Out and Go Home. An old story from about 10 years ago, but I still giggle about it sometimes. I've been working at a McDonald's and only just started maybe 2 weeks ago or so. They gradually trained me on the two main stations in the kitchen, first the chicken station aka deep fryers and then the burger station aka the grill. But the chips fries station is always busy, so they were delaying training new employees until a slow morning came on the weekend or some other freak event caused the chips to get slow. One day the restaurant got busy and for whatever reason the manager decides to put me on the chips. Someone probably called in sick or was no show. I informed him that I have had zero training on the fries, but I can handle either of the other stations effectively. He didn't care and put me on the fries regardless. To no surprise, I was inefficient on that station, figuring out the process myself from what I saw the others do while working another station. I didn't know the best timing, my portions were all over the place, orders started piling up and instead of helping in any way, the manager was standing behind my back, literally breathing on my neck and criticizing every little bit of it. Your fries are burning, you're running out of fries, you brought too many bags from the freezer, the other bag will be soggy by the time you open it. Your portions are too small, you're too slow. At one point he grabbed a pack of chips and asked me, look at this portion. If you were a customer would you pay for it? Finally I told him that instead of standing behind me and criticizing every move he could jump in to help or train me, or at least give some basic hits to get me started. To this, his response was something along the lines of, well, the restaurant is busy and you're too slow. You need to be faster and if you don't like it you can clock out and go home. All of this is about 2.5 meters away from customers, mind you. Before his mouth could close after saying that, I have already turned on my heel and started marching towards the clock. He caught up with me at the clock. What are you doing? Clocking out, you can't just clock out. Yes I can, you said yourself I can clock out and go home, while marching towards the staff room, changing room. You think you can just leave in the middle of a busy day? You know, there are 1,000 people out there waiting to get your job? And there's a million minimum wages, dead-end jobs out there that I can do tomorrow instead of this. I don't get paid enough to deal with your bullshit. Edit, why did you come back to work? Memory failed me slightly, I did not say, I'll see you tomorrow, at the end. After the dead-end jobs bit and I don't get paid enough, he asked, with a pretty disarmed look, are you still going to come in tomorrow? I said yes, because if he wasn't petty enough to sack me on the spot for bruising his ego I might as well stick around until I find another job. Don't quit before you have something lined up. I did not have any conversations with anyone about this, not him, not HR, so perhaps it was a legitimate defeat, meaning the message was delivered. I was already on a lookout for a better job because they never gave me enough hours to cover my rent, let alone eat. Edit 2, what happened after on the day, I never asked. He probably had to put his hands in the chips until somebody else turned up, or abused another poor soul into performing. I don't remember bothering to ask anyone and as far as I recall nobody said anything. That was 10 years ago, so I might as well update now. After leaving MCD a few weeks later I went through a bunch of similar jobs, got scammed once, then did some odd PC repairs which led me to landing a position in a small family business as a one-person IT department. After a year and a half I moved into data centers, finally working for a well-known international corporation, and now I'm in second year of university studying so I can go into 6 figures salary. Worked out well so far. Next one is titled, I'm not allowed to order a pizza. A happy malicious compliance story. Meg and I have never lived in the same state, so we've had a long-distance friendship since long before the pandemic. Today, I had a very late lunch. I called Meg during my lunch hour because she wasn't feeling super great today and I found out she also hadn't eaten lunch yet. She asked what I was having, and I told her pizza. She replied pizza sounded good, and jokingly asked me to send her some. I pulled up DoorDash and immediately started ordering her a pizza, because why not? Meg got frustrated with me because when the roles were reversed, I didn't let her buy me lunch, so she told me I was not allowed to buy her pizza. I assured her I wouldn't, and switched to ordering her cupcakes instead. I waited until after the Dasher was on their way before sending her the link. I almost died laughing as she cursed at me. I reminded her she told me no pizza, and I didn't buy her pizza. Meg is retaliating by buying me tacos. I already plan on retaliating this with something else. I may have started a friendly food ordering war. Next one is titled, My Wonderful Grandma Wouldn't Let Me Buy Lunch, I Did So Anyway. Not exactly a true, malicious compliance since I wasn't trying to be evil about it, but I was complying with her wishes, just not in the intended way. I was reminded of this story by a story about buying cupcakes for a long-distance friend and thought I would share it. Background: I was in the Navy at the time, and whenever I came home on leave I always made the effort to see my grandma, who lived another 90 minutes away. I would spend the day playing cards, talking, and just generally having a good time. Oftentimes my uncles would swing by and ask how it is going. Two of them were retired Marines, so we would take some friendly shots at each other. So to the main story. On this particular visit my younger sister had made the trip with me. When we got to Grandma's house she had the typical snacks but did not have anything for lunch. When the time came she asked me to go to KFC and get a bucket of chicken and sides. As I was leaving she tried to give me $20 to pay for it. I argued that I could buy this time, but she was having none of it. So finally I just took the money and left to get the chicken. So I went ahead and bought the food, which cost more than the $20 I had been given, and brought it back. As I went back in I slipped the $20 back under the runner on top of her TV where she had gotten it from. We sat down, ate and visited some more. As Grandma was breaking out the dessert that she had for us she asked me about the change from KFC. Not wanting to tell her that I paid and that it was over $20, I pulled out the coins and a few bills from my pocket and gave them to her. Now Grandma was very specific, you always had to call her when you got back to let her know you made it back okay. So when we got back to town that evening I called and let her know. She asked me if I put the $20 back under the runner on the TV. I told her that I did. She asked how much the meal cost and I told her. She then laughs and says, "And you gave me change when I asked for it." I said yes I did. I told you I would pay but you tried to not let me. We still chuckled about that for several years after this happened. She never did tell me no again if I tried to pay. Although, she also never asked me to get the dinner again. She would always have one of her sons bring her groceries the morning of my visit. Next one is titled, Can't Work Unless I'm Working on the List Provided by Management but Can Do Marketing in Between. Okay then. This happened today. I work for a food delivery company as someone who goes and checks on the restaurants. We check their equipment and have a quick chat with the manager to make sure they are happy with the service. Every day around midnight we are emailed a list of restaurants to visit the next day. Most days that isn't an issue. However, today is the day before payday. I have less than $1 in my bank account and my fiancé and I share a car. This is kind of important. I message my boss in the morning and state I would like to work on marketing in an area close to my house as I am low on gas and won't get paid till tomorrow. Also important to note that my really awesome manager is on vacation, so we have other less awesome manager. Also important that really awesome manager told us before she left that if we wanted to spend a day on marketing while she was away, that was just fine with her. So I make this plan for the day and less awesome manager asks me if the low gas would prevent me from marketing. I tell her that I know several places and some housing areas nearby that I can go to, so I'd be fine to do the marketing. She then asks me where my assigned restaurants for the day were. I inform her that most of them are at least 30 minutes away in another city. Less awesome manager then informs me that I need to either work on my assigned list or the list that was posted for the day. Also located 30 minutes away, and if I can't work on that, let her know so she can clock me out. By this time I'm pretty steamed. I tell her I was told by really awesome manager before she left that we were good to do marketing, but that was fine and I'd figure out some way to do this. Then she said the magic words, marketing is always allowed in between and while working on your lists. Cue malicious compliance. On my list for the day was one restaurant about 15 minutes away. I went there and did my maintenance and partner check, then gleefully spent all the rest of my shift driving from shopping center to shopping center along the same street to pass out promo cards. Used only 1 bar of gas on the whole trip and had a marvelously easy day. Last one is titled, Service Level Agreement Fulfilled Properly. Our favorite in-house customer has always been a pain in the butt, Peter, overcome by his own subjective importance, expecting instant solutions regardless of other commitments or severity, complexity. He is always quick to criticize our department, his own team is always blameless, and no negative feedback equals glowing praise, but is really rare. But keep in mind he is not running anything related to the actual operations business side of the company. This has been going on for years, but apparently he now has a new regional VP to report to, and we got the distinct impression he wants to impress his new boss by showing those pesky guys in tech support who's boss. Last week, he escalated a minor problem in a non-operational training system because it took us 11 minutes from the first phone call until the problem was solved, or, in his words, an unacceptable and unprofessional non-performance. When we received word of the rocket he had sent via his manager to our boss, we were a tiny little bit irritated. And it took us all of 30 seconds to agree to serve him following the terms of the Service Level Agreement (SLA) exactly for future calls. Reaction time from first notification to the beginning of a qualified response is defined as 2 hours, with no upper hard limit for an actual solution, only best effort. Today we had a really nice day at work, with an emergency ticket from said Peter at 7 o'clock. And a second call for the same topic at 7:10 and so on, getting more and more frantic and escalating with an email distribution list of more and more important people which we ignored, and when we went to solve the problem at 8:50, it took us about 2 minutes to fix, restart application software, as his team has been trained to do. Ticket was then closed, with that huge distribution list attached, as problem solved within SLA, user error, and it left him, not us, with egg on the face. I'm looking forward to his next trouble ticket, maybe he is able to learn. Thanks for listening.